Hello, JDs and Gentlemen. I'm here to talk about a very special project that I've been working on for a few years now, actually. It's all starting to come together. I'm actually hoping to have a proper release for it later this year, but now that I've said that out loud, it's probably going to get delayed. Anyway, please keep in mind while I'm talking about it today that TOGWITO is still in early development. I've been focusing on making the mechanics and the gameplay good and making it an enjoyable experience, so I don't really have many visuals to show here other than a couple of little doodles that I made. Sorry, getting ahead of myself here. I just called this thing TOGWITO. You don't even know what that is, huh? Honestly, I'm kind of having a lot of trouble with the elevator pitch for TOGWITO, but it's I guess the term is middle fantasy. It's a middle fantasy tabletop RPG about exploration, uncovering the secrets of the world, and beating up monsters while using weird abilities. I kind of have to explain the term middle fantasy now. I'm doing so well at not using terms that I have to immediately explain. So you have high fantasy, right? You know, like Lord of the Rings, elves and dwarves fighting the Dark Lord who's casting magical spells across the world. You've got low fantasy like Percy Jackson, a realistic world with sprinkles of magic in it, you know, some kid is a demigod, you have a satyr over here, etc. Obviously you have no fantasy like the biography of Abraham Lincoln, I guess. That one's probably not a fantasy novel. Although now that I think about it, I'm not sure if Abraham Lincoln really existed. I'm getting off topic. Middle fantasy is halfway between low fantasy and high fantasy, as the name might imply. It's a fantasy world with some weird handfuls of like odd modern stuff in it. It's not quite all the way to high fantasy, but it's not really quite low fantasy either. It's in the middle. The setting of TOGWITO is kind of strange, really. So it takes place on the planet Earth, a planet covered in hundreds of islands and a moderately treacherous sea between them. Most of the islands are decently well settled, and they're all connected by this network of merchants who help encourage trade and barter between cities and towns, as well as just making sure that people don't get killed. If a merchant shows up at a city that's sick, they're gonna give them supplies and go, you know, we'll make sure that we get payment or something from it later. Don't worry, you guys focus on not dying. After all, the merchants can't make money off of you if you just die. The people of the world are kind and caring in most cases, even to total strangers. You know, not everyone is going to be capable of helping you retrieve a lost artifact or stopping the monsters who are attacking the city, but if you're trying to help them in some way, they're going to at least offer you something. And then also, the final weird little interesting thing is strange ruins across the world from the enigmatic ancients, who all seem to vanish without a trace one day. Yeah, you know, you can go after them and get treasures and weird little doodads, but the big fantasy about it is that maybe, just maybe, somebody will find answers as to where these people went. Now, I know, fantasy world with magic and all of these weird adventures and mysterious ancient creatures who went missing one day. You've heard it a million times before. Okay, I get it. Counterpoint, I just brought up the Sea of Hearts. Give me some time to talk about the cool, unique stuff that I've made. Let me start with the magic that I think I mentioned earlier. It's a little bit weird. See, in TOGWITO, everybody has like a soul. It's what makes you a person, a sentient being, and it is created out of a core that is you on a fundamental level and surrounded in memories. That is how your experiences change that. You know, if you were attacked by a dog as a kid, then you're going to keep that memory of it in your soul, and it's going to affect your behavior every time you see a dog. You're going to see a dog, and you're going to have that split second of, I got attacked by a dog one day, didn't I? And you know, maybe it's not traumatic, maybe it doesn't damage your soul. Maybe it does. It kind of depends on the person, kind of depends on the memory. When you die, your soul splits apart, and all of those memories fly out into the ether. And bit by bit, they find each other, dancing and twirling along in the skies, until they begin to coalesce into something greater than any of them ever would have been inside of a being. They become magic. Magic is a semi-sentient force in this world that is trying to just bring its memories back into happening and perpetuate themselves. So for example, you're camping. You want to make a fire. You want to make a campfire. You got to use magic for that because you didn't bring a flint and steel. Luckily for you, you remember this one time when you were a kid when your older brother came home from a camp out and he tried to make a little campfire on the kitchen counter. And you very distinctly remember, like, the sight of it burning at the counter a little bit. And so you close your eyes and you reach out and you just grab a wisp of fire and you throw it into the bundle of sticks that you already made. And you've just cast magic. Now, also, the Sea of Hearts. I told you I'd come back to it. Hello everyone, Feature Beck here. I cut out the part where I mentioned the Sea of Hearts earlier, because it was part of that tangent that I removed, because it made no sense. Sorry. It's a little bit weird. See, it is this layer underneath all of reality. That's kind of where your understanding of the world comes from. Your perception, more accurately. You have your mind that kind of stores like what you see, and you have your soul which stores who you are. When you mix what you see with who you are, you get how you see it, basically. And that's what your heart is. Your heart, floating somewhere in the Sea of Hearts, connected via current to all of the other people that you care about in your life. To your family, to your friends, to your partner, maybe to your neighbor, maybe that weird guy on the bus who, helped you when you got lost the other day, and 3 weeks later he called you and invited you to a baseball game. All of those are connections in the Sea of Hearts via current. And if you enter somebody's heart, you get to see the world through their eyes, how they perceive it. Assuming you don't go into your own heart, that's a little bit dangerous, but it'll be fine, I'm sure. Then we've got, you're familiar with, fairies and elves, right? Classic fantasy concepts. Well, they're kind of different here. In TOGWITO, fairies are sky elementals. It's what happens when a cloud develops a soul, usually because magic has coalesced into the cloud and created a soul. Meanwhile, elves are really just another kind of human, more than anything. They're tall, wispy hunter-gatherers and nomads, usually. Rather than what most fantasy stories seem to set up as the norm for, elves is the tall, ethereal, ancient magic users. Elves in TOGWITO are the tall twink who runs around and tackles a boar with his bare hands. It's a really weird thing to say now that I've said it out loud, huh? And then we've also just got, a lot of weird, just unique stuff that I kind of just have. We have Ahaith, which are shape-shifting aliens from hundreds of thousands of light years away, that are so skilled with telekinesis that they can rearrange subatomic molecules. Are those still molecules? I'm not actually sure. No. And then we've got creatures from the Sea of Hearts. For example, we have the Somni, who are dream eaters, and we have sirens that is a heart-given form, basically. Now, if you're really interested in this, luckily, I have some great news for you. Me and a couple of friends from Coven SMP, displayed on the projector screen next to me, we're going to be streaming a playtest on Sunday, March 15th. Assuming everything goes according to plan, that'll be 1 week after this is released. I have a couple of different times and a couple of different time zones on the board here. If that's not your time zone, you are going to have to do the conversion yourself. I'm sorry, I barely understand time zones as it is. If you really can't wait a week, if you're not quite sold on it, alright, cool. I'm just going to charge off with a ton of random scattershot facts about the game, okay? Well, first off, the game's got 16 classes, including, but not limited to, tanks who use heavy armor to protect their allies, and different stances to provide assistance to whoever they're protecting, like giving their teammate a free reaction or a free attack when the tank is attacked. Hunters who'll mark a target and either chase that target to the end of the earth and ensure that they're killed, or let that target exhaust itself as it runs away in terror. We've got tricksters who are weaponized stage magicians that mix and match their main attack for all sorts of situations, not to mention all sorts of nonsense that they've got hiding away in one of their sleeves somewhere. And the last example I'm giving you is the Technomancer. who mixes together ancient technology, their own tinkering, and a little dash of magic in order to create special gadgets to aid their teammates, cause problems for their enemies, and also to create a steam-powered clockwork soldier that protects them because they're not very good on the front lines. Not enough for you? Great. We've also got 16 different species, including but not limited to gargoyles, who specialize in defense or attack, but neither one at the same time. If a gargoyle wants to split the difference and go down the middle, they have no advantages for it. We have the Fae, who are strange beings created out of nonsensical rules that are forced to follow their own nonsensical rules, like not being able to eat alone, or being physically incapable of touching trees. And by not being able to eat alone or physically incapable of touching trees, I really mean it. If a Fae can't eat alone, there's no way for them to consume that food no matter how hard they try until they tear off a piece and give it to their buddy, and then they're good. If you can't touch trees, you can fling a Fae at all you want at a wall of trees, they will stop dead an inch away. We have Sirens and Somni. I think I mentioned earlier, Somni spend their lives in the Sea of Hearts feeding on and weaving together dreams for people, and when they leave reality, they still continue to feed on emotions. Sirens, meanwhile, like I said, like I alluded to, really, they are the result of someone falling into the abyss of the Sea of Hearts, splitting apart into all the different most important parts of their personality, and bit by bit, those little chunks of personality will be spat out of the ocean onto the surface, as maybe a young man who's hopelessly in love with every person he sees, or a little child who's terrified of everything, or a wise old guy who will not stop talking about turtles. There's a ton of other species, and, you know, you can just check them out in the base game. It's gonna be free when it comes out. I feel like there's a lot of tabletop RPGs that have crazy entry fees to them that cost so much money to get into, so I'm not contributing to that. I'm going to make TOGWITO a free project, and if you would like to support it, then I will be releasing a paid expansion to the game. It's called TOGWITO Expanded, very creative title. It will add in a couple of additional races that are, like, further honing in on species, and so instead of just a dryad, you instead figure out, oh, well, what kind of plant is she? Oh, instead of just a fairy, oh, well, what kind of cloud were they? Instead of just a siren, what kind of emotion is that? You've got archetypes in the expansion. Still feels weird to say. You've got archetypes that act like a subclass, where throughout your game you'll unlock 2 different archetypes that just kind of give you a weird side gimmick to play with. Like, planting runes down for area of effect damage, or maybe you apply glyphs to people that'll trigger powerful effects later. Or maybe you're just a meat shield, gives you a lot of health and a lot of abilities to take hits. Or maybe you're a field medic, you're some guy who charges in, bandages people up, and runs off. You're not using the magic to heal them like a guardian would, because you just don't know any spells. You're just gonna grab bandages and disinfectant. Listen, I've spent so long working on this game, and please, just at least give it a try. Come, check out one of us. I've got links to our Twitches in description. Check out one of us on Sunday. Once I have, like, a VOD up of the first session, I'm actually gonna link it at the end of this video. I'm really excited about this, and I really hope that you guys are gonna be excited too. Thank you guys for just coming in to check this out. I really appreciate it. And as always, I hope that you have a lovely morning, evening, and I will see you again another time. Goodbye.